Here's the truth. If you're an ambitious woman, there's going to be a lot of opportunities and things that are fighting for your attention, your time, your energy, and your money. I'm not chasing money. I live by better rules. I decide ahead of time what I will and won't spend money on so that I'm not constantly having to make these decisions throughout the entire year. These rules that I live by have helped me protect my financial energy and have helped me align my finances with my highest goals. Maybe they're similar to yours, but if they're not, feel free to steal these. I think number 7 is actually going to be a really big surprise. My very first rule is that if a financial decision causes me anxiety, then it's not right for me. I understand that for many, many people, just talking or thinking about money is already anxiety inducing. But on this channel, I teach women that money is a tool. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. It's whatever you decide you want to use it for. Here's what I actually mean. I need to actually fully understand the impact of a financial decision. I need to know what alternatives I have and then pick the one that makes the most sense and actually feels good for me and is the direction I want to go in. In order for me to not have financial anxiety, I have to do 2 things. I have to calculate my financial decision and figure out what that dollar amount is. The second thing I have to do is actually plug that number into my budget and see what it does to my lifestyle, my goals, and my priorities. If it changes it too much, then the answer is no. And if I can fit it into my lifestyle and not have to change a lot of things, then that answer could be a yes. And sometimes it might be a maybe. I want to feel good about my finances. I want to feel freedom with my money. I want to work towards my goals in a way that doesn't stress me out like how it used to in the past. Here's what a real life example looks like. My husband and I are newly married, but we've been looking for houses for a couple years now. We go to open houses. He's learning more about the mortgage process. I'm crunching the numbers. I know that the maximum amount of a mortgage that I feel comfortable with is about $3,600, and that is the highest that I want to go. You want to hear the crazy thing? If we went into a financial institution and we had them tell us how much we could afford, they would tell us it would be $6,600 a month. We would not be able to afford retirement. We couldn't save. We couldn't invest. We couldn't go on trips. We'd have no room for other goals. We couldn't have repairs. We couldn't take care of our pets. We would be house poor. I've already lived like that and I'm not going to do it again. This is what I mean about not having financial anxiety. That's why I go through this process. I'm sure you can see why it's so important to have your goals in place first. After I calculate this number, I start to ask myself questions. Is this number too high? Am I comfortable with this number? Is it too low? Do I have wiggle room in my budget? Am I still able to prioritize my goals? So I go through a lot of things before I actually make a decision. And you'll see why this number 1 rule is the most important rule for me. And that's why I said it first. Doesn't mean the rest of my rules are by importance order, but this was the one that I wanted to start with first. After I go through this process, I check in with myself. How do I feel about this number? Do I feel trapped? Do I feel anxious? Do I feel unsafe? Do I have worries about my budget? If any of those things are true, then maybe I need to do something different. Maybe I need to look at alternatives. Maybe the answer is no for now. Maybe it means I wait for a little while longer. Anytime I'm feeling anxiety, then it's just too much. And I have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what else I can do to reach certain goals that I have. When you hear rule number 5, you'll understand why rule number 1 is so important. The second rule that I'm following in 2026 is that every dollar has to have a job, even for the fun things. When my money started working for me, everything changed. When I gave every dollar a job, I had a clear direction and then I didn't feel so stressful with my money. I jokingly call my money my little best friends. And here's some of the jobs that I give my money. So bills, savings, investments, emergency fund, goals, sinking funds. You get the idea. How do I know where I want my money to go? I do something called a strategic plan. As a financial examiner, I see this in 100 million and billion-dollar financial institutions. So I started to do the same thing. How this works is I dream of what my next 3 years is going to look like. I think of all the financial goals that I want to reach within the next 3 years. Then I break it down by year. And then when I'm planning my annual budget, I take some of those goals and I break it down into little bite-sized pieces so that I can start heading in the direction that I want to go. Come December, I'll go over my goals. I'll see how far I've come, and then I'll start to strategically align myself for year 2 and start working on those goals. Now, sometimes those goals change and I have to pivot, and that's okay because I don't feel like anything is wasted. If I worked on a prior goal last year and then I've changed it to something different this year. No problem. It's not set in stone. I want to at least have an idea of what direction I want to head in because a lot of financial goals, as you'll see, take a long time to grow and to build. And so 3 years is about the sweet spot. Anything after that is just an unknown. After I do this kind of planning, I let my budget go into autopilot and I can sit back and breathe and just enjoy the rest of my year, at least for the most part. That's how it's supposed to work. Here's a real life example of a financial change and what we did. One of our goals is to pay pay off our condo by 2027 so that we can actually go and move into a house and not have to worry about an additional expense with the condo. Last year, we actually put $20,000 down towards the principal so we could fast forward and pay this thing off. This year, our plans are changing. There's just some signs and some things telling us maybe our time here is done and we need to actually move our plans forward and sell the condo. Here's what we're doing for our budget in 2026. We're going to be saving for renovations instead and building up additional savings in other areas. What about the $20,000 that we put towards the principal last year? Isn't that wasted? No, it's not wasted. It went towards the principal, which actually helps build our equity. So when we sell, we're going to get that money back. This is honestly the most freeing part of my financial system, is that once your money has direction, the anxiety disappears. I do this same process with fun things like vacations. I plan out what I want to spend for the airfare, hotel, car, food, fun, gas. I budget how much I think I'm going to spend, and then I break that down into smaller paycheck size portions. And by the time I'm going to go on that trip, I've already saved for it. I know that I'm going to be able to enjoy my vacation debt free. Or let's talk about even smaller things. I like going out and getting coffee with my husband, and I like going to have lunches or dinners with my friends. All of that is built into my budget. That's the power of intentional spending and giving every dollar a job. My rule number 3 is building savings and wealth at the same time. Wealth growth protects me for tomorrow. Not literally tomorrow, but when I'm ready to retire. Building wealth takes a very long time. It takes decades. So the safety net that I have protects me for today. When you're working on your emergency fund and your sinking funds, your safety nets, you'll realize that it takes a long time as well, several years. At this stage of my life, I have to do both. An emergency fund helps protect you in case you don't have income coming in. The average monthly household expense is $6,500. I was actually kind of floored when I found this out because it's close to what my husband and I are probably going to be at because we live in a high cost of living city. A 3-month emergency fund at $6,500 to pay your expenses with your savings would come out to $19,500. If you're going to do a 6-month emergency fund, you would just double that. So it would be about $39,000. Right now, my goal is to save up to $40,000. I just round up and then I stop saving. There's absolutely no reason to keep putting more money in that account because then you can use that for other areas like growing your wealth faster. That emergency fund is sitting in a high yield savings account earning 4% interest. And I can hear what you're saying. I will never save up $40,000. I had to start at zero, just like everybody else. I was able to save up a couple hundred and then a couple thousand. Sometimes I put in $20 and sometimes I put in nothing. And again, it takes a long time to build. And that's why that's a rule for being a priority. You don't know when in life you'll have a situation come up where you're going to need that money because anything can happen. I guarantee that you will feel so much better and more confident and feel safe and be able to sleep better at night when you have that emergency fund available and that you can use it when you need it. And here's the thing, it's just going to be progress over perfection. Don't beat yourself up if you can't save that amount in a year. I can't do that. Take your time with it and eventually you'll get there. My second safety account for rule 3 is my sinking funds, and some people call this a rainy day fund. Anything you own is eventually going to need repairs, fixes, replacements, and those costs don't have to be surprises. This rule taught me to expect expenses, to not fear them, but to plan for them. Do you own a car? Yeah, probably. Well, you're going to have to replace your tires eventually. You're going to need to have maintenance done. All of those things add up. Maybe you're spending $500 on a bad year. Maybe it's $2,500 or more. But do you see what I mean? This is one way that I reduced my financial anxiety. I started planning for these things. What are the things that I own? What are the things that could possibly go wrong? And then figured out what I should budget for in the future. Here is a real life scenario. My husband and I had a surprise leak with our heating system. This is exactly why safety comes first. So imagine the scenario. You have a problem with your heating. It's the middle of winter. It's January. Your cards are maxed. You don't know what you're going to do. You shut off the heat and you hope for the best. Imagine this scenario. You are expecting something to go wrong. You have an old heating system. You budget for a repair. You have someone come out and they tell you this is going to be expensive, and they hand you an $850 invoice and you hand over your card and you feel so confident because you've already budgeted $1,000, not knowing that you were going to run into this situation, but you already have the money prepared and you're ready to pay for that repair. No problem. That is exactly what we did. To me, that's not expensive, it's expected. So can you feel the difference between those two scenarios? And I can hear what you're saying. Well, if I spend this money, what's the point? I'm just going to have to build it up again. If you have the goal not to get back into debt or to get out of the debt cycle, then that's why you build up those reserves so that you can use that first instead of having to pay the interest that credit cards charge. And for me, I don't want to just have an unknown number in my bank account. I want to really think through things like car repairs. I budget about $2,500 per car because that was the highest quote that I ever got. So that's what I want to budget every year. Even if I don't spend that amount, at least I have it ready to go. I budget $1,000 per cat for vet visit. I actually had to take my cat to the vet. It was $1,000. And then random things like plumbing repairs, $1,000. Sometimes what you save isn't going to fully cover the full amount. Even if you have to put a little bit on your card, you're not going deep into the hole that you would if you put everything on a credit card. Does it sound okay so far, hun?
I stopped doing what I was doing because I was listening in the background and you were like in the zone.
This is the one that I struggled with a little bit.
I wasn't listening to content, but I was listening to like cadence and like how it presents, and it sounded good.
Thanks, baby. Now, the wealth building part of safety is for the long-term future. Here's how I structure this. The first thing I do is contribute to my employer-sponsored investment. I take advantage of whatever match my employer gives me, and I only invest up to that amount. The second thing I do is that I open a Roth IRA and I max that out as well. Started thinking about a health savings account. For my insurance, I changed to a high deductible plan, and I know not everybody is going to be able to do this. Now, I heard a lot of the benefits about this. For a long time, I wasn't sure what it was or what it did or if I would even use it. The more I started thinking about it, I was like, this is something that I could actually take advantage of as long as my health holds out. I'm a pretty healthy person. I don't go to the doctor very often. I plan to max this out. It's a triple tax savings advantage. I don't get taxed on the income that I put into it. I don't get taxed on the growth, and then I don't get taxed on it when I withdraw. And I can use it for any kind of health expenses that I have later on in life. But in the meantime, it's going to be in an investment account and growing over time. The fourth thing that I do is I have individual investments. These are things in a regular taxable brokerage account, which means it's outside of retirement. Retirement accounts are pretty limited. I'm not at the age where I can retire. I can't just pull my money out of there and use it for whatever I want. I want to have a buffer in place in case I want to retire early and I'm able to. I have a lot of goals and priorities. So I'm balancing what I'm putting in for savings for today, Kristen, and I'm balancing what I'm putting in for future Kristen. None of this happened overnight. A lot of this has started to compound and started to snowball for me, which is really exciting. I don't think I'm at an avalanche stage yet where my money is out earning what I'm putting in. If you had to work with just one, I would recommend the safety because that's an immediate need. The wealth building takes a lot of time and you can always start to grow that when your immediate needs are taken care of. That's great. Rule number four, it has to be quality. For the most part. If I care about the thing that I'm buying, I want to feel good about it. I want it to last. I apply this rule to almost everything that I buy, especially everyday items like food and clothing are things that I really care about because it's something that I have to do every single day. If I don't care about it, then I'll just buy the cheapest option. Like if I'm buying broccoli, I just don't care. But here's one thing we actually do care about. We've been trying different protein shakes for about a year. We'll actually go buy a whole case from Costco and we'll try different ones and see which ones we like. Now we've actually found one that we both like, but it's also the most expensive option. And the reason why I care about this is because I drink protein shakes nearly every single day. We both found one that we really like. And for me, I don't see that as a waste of money. I see that as a quality investment that we're putting into our health. It's something that's easy and that we both like. And for me, it's worth it. I'm not saying that all quality items have to be expensive. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that I'm more discerning with what I'm spending my money on because I really do want what I'm buying to last. I don't want to buy that I know as soon as I take it out of the box and look at it wrong, it's going to break on me. I want something that's going to actually be worth the money that I'm spending. Is it made well? Does it fit well? Is it going to last? I will still buy alternatives if I know I'm still getting the same value. This is actually bothering me. I've noticed that quality has actually changed over the years with the same brands. I bought these long sleeve shirts when I first moved here 10 years ago. And they're these long sleeve shirts. They're really thick and they have just started to wear within the past couple of years. About 2 years ago, I bought the same shirts and not even a year later, they have already started to show the same amount of wear. I have noticed that the quality has deteriorated. That one's been a really tough one for me because the things that I thought were quality, years ago have changed and maybe they're not quality today. The goal with this rule is to feel good about the purchase, to be really intentional with what I'm spending my money on and feel confident with the things that I buy. Rule number 5, I don't rush financial decisions. Taking our time allows situations to come to the surface so that we can handle them. Eventually, I'm going to have to replace my vehicle. It's 13 years old, but I'm giving myself 3 years to plan and prepare. I'm saving and I'm figuring out what I'm going to need at that time. This also supports my rule number 1 because it helps us not have stress. We can actually think through the process. We're going to be at peace, and that's how I want to feel when I'm spending my money. I don't want to feel like I'm trapped, or worse, that I made the wrong decision and I'm stuck for years. It gives us this confidence that when we go into a situation, we're actually fully prepared. Speaking of planning your finances, I help women strategically align their finances with their highest and best goals. If you want to know more, get on my waiting list. I have a financial workbook coming out very soon. My rule number 6 is charity that feels good. And you might be thinking, like, charity, when does it not feel good? It doesn't feel good when you feel guilty or you feel forced into donating to a charity you're not sure of. Many years ago, when I was living in Hawaii, I was sitting outside during lunch with a friend, and a girl I had never seen before told me about a charity that I've never heard of before and asked me to donate, and I did because I felt guilty not to. This was a point in my life where I was skipping breakfast, I was taking the bus to work, and I was eating ramen noodles for lunch and dinner. I really did not have the money to be giving to anybody, and I still wonder to this day, where did my money go? I realized that I can actually decide in advance what my charities are going to be, where I want my money to go, and that feels good to me and makes me happy. When opportunities come up to donate, I can say, I appreciate what you're doing. I already have a pre-selected list of charities that I donate to. This rule supports me because I can give what I want when I want, and I don't feel guilted or used. Being intentional with this protects my money and my peace. I think this one is actually going to surprise a lot of people, but my rule number 7 is no paybacks. Now I can't see my script. Shoot. Speaking about helping someone else out, I do not lend money to people with expectations. When I help someone financially or otherwise, I don't expect anything in return. I treat it as a gift. I let it go completely. No paybacks expected. And a lot of you might think, oh, hell no, there's no way I could ever do that. I have seen too many relationships damaged and broken because of missed promises to pay. I refuse to keep score or resentment. I don't have space for that in my life. I think this rule came from watching my dad. I watched him help a lot of people, and the times where he needed the help, it was crickets. I'm not a bank. I'm not an ATM. I only help when it feels right, and I can do so without actually needing anything in return. So the rule goes like, if I need the money, or I don't have the money, or I would need the money returned to me soon to take care of some other thing, then I don't actually have the money to be helping other people. It's far kinder for me to say, I don't have the money to lend. Is there any other way I can help you? What else have you tried? How else can I support you? Because like I said, sometimes I can help. Sometimes I can't. I help people when I can, and I don't do it out of guilt. I'm going to go straight into rule 8, and that's I figure it out. At this stage in my life, I have a rule that no matter what financial situation comes up, I will figure it out. I have survived job loss, almost being homeless, getting out of debt, divorce, and widowhood, and of course, starting over from nothing. Each experience that I went through built resourcefulness. When you go through hard times, you develop skills. Bravery, confidence, strength, determination. These are things that you wouldn't have otherwise and you have no other choice not to. You just have to keep going. And you know what I'm talking about. Let's see, how do I want to say this? Financial situations are going to happen. My solution isn't to do nothing. My solution isn't to complain about it. And my solution isn't to hide. My solution is to face it, make the best decision, and then move on with my life. Rule number 9 is that I'm not alone anymore. I spent a lot of my life feeling alone and feeling like a lot of the financial burden was all on me. I don't feel shame about feeling that way because it's made me who I am. As I got older, I realized that there was a lot of people in my corner rooting for me and helping me out in other ways. Family, friends, coworkers, husband showed up for me in both big and small ways, rebuilding my life to everyday support and financial decisions. I have learned that connection is everywhere. And now I share what I've learned with you as well. Now more than ever, we have to have more conversations about money and finances, talking about financial challenges, asking other people, where do you put your money to feel safe at night? What are you doing for your investments? Or maybe even just saying, here's my plan. This is what we're thinking of doing. What are the pros and cons? And talk to people that you trust. Talk to people who have been through it. My final rule, number 10, is staying debt free. I guess except for buying a house. It's very expensive where we live. But I think being out of debt has really helped me see the power of what my own money can do and not giving my money to credit card companies in the form of interest. I feel so much better being able to build and grow my own wealth, to be able to have my own safety and be able to plan and prioritize and give every dollar a job that's not going to a credit card payment. These rules didn't just change my bank account. They changed how I feel in my own body. I don't panic. I don't spiral. I don't feel behind. I hope you can sense the calmness when I talk about these rules, that it brings you a sense of peace. Now you can steal some of these rules. You're going to have your own rules and maybe you don't like these rules at all. I can't tell you how good it feels to be able to pay for an $850 plumbing repair. You have to build that and you have to think about the things that you need and then put your little buddies to work. I know I'm not there yet, but I trust myself because I have a plan. And the confidence, that's the real wealth. And I want that for you. So you're going to want to watch this video next. It's about getting clarity around your budget. I'll see you in the next one.